Hey everyone, this is podcast episode 2, all about Salon suites, specifically in North Carolina. I started my business in my salon suite in Cary and stayed there for about 3 years. I didn't have any issues with my suite specifically, but I also didn't really use anything that was provided by the owner of the building. At the time the space was under construction, the walls were up, but they didn't finish putting the floors, cabinets, sinks, or doors in. This was the best time to get in at a suite since this will be the cheapest they'll ever be. Once construction is finished, the rates increase significantly unless they're desperate. They want people in there right when they open, so they're open to negotiation. The price was determined by how big the space is and the location of the suite. A double suite meant you have enough space for another professional in there. The double suites and window suites in the very front were the most expensive. Based on what I saw, these were the suites that were the most problematic. The main reason why the double suites were mostly empty is because it's hard to find another reliable professional who can financially stay locked in until the lease is over. You can rent out your single suite with the owner's permission, but both professionals would have to sign the lease. As for the window suites, the rooms you first see when you go into these commercial spaces, they're overpriced. What they don't tell you is that these rooms get overwhelmingly hot in the summer. Even if you have the door open, it's not enough. You will need the AC on. When I first moved in, they gave you an option to have this bulky mirror that requires an electrician to put together and a hair washing bowl. I opted out of both of those. The hairstylist that used the hair washing bowl would have issues with it, even though it's new. Besides that, let's talk about rent. When I moved in, they had me paying $280 per week, and by the end of it, I remember paying $295 per week, and they were ready to increase it to $325. Rent was due every Monday. Most months had 5 weeks, so I was paying around $1,400 a week. This, along with my other bills, gas, supplies, paying my accountant each month for payroll, and setting money aside for taxes. The rent was the main reason I moved out of my current spot. At these places, you can't get mad at the managers since they're relaying messages from the owners of the franchise. I honestly don't know what the job description is to be a manager. None of the managers stayed for a long time except one. All I know is they're responsible for printing out leases, making sure they're signed, making sure people are paying their rent, showing the suites, advertising them on social media, and trying to solve issues before people left. At these places, it's normal to see renters up and leave because they were fed up. The very last moments I was there, the owners wanted to increase my rent to $325 a week with no upgrades. They did ask me why I was leaving, and I told them the truth. I didn't expect many others were leaving the same time as me. It got so bad for them, they started having promotions for a limited time. Since I have no other experiences to share, I'll share some suite drama. We had this one manager who got the job around the same time as her friend moving into the suites. They claim to promote your business, but what they mean by that is posting you on social media once or twice. This manager was promoting her friend's business every day. All videos or stories made, you knew her friend was going to be in it. To avoid suspicion of favoritism, she did include others, but not everyone renting got promoted on social media. The one thing this manager did that I liked was trying to create as many networking opportunities as possible and decorated the building to make it festive for each holiday. For example, there would be contests to see who decorated their suite door the best for Halloween. For Christmas, everyone got a stocking next to their door with candy in it. Little things like that was nice. I don't remember having a bad manager. The other reason why we kept having a rotating door for managers was because they needed someone to understand the payment system for this franchise. I guess many people said they were familiar with it to get the job, but when they needed to do the work, they couldn't. Overall, my salon suite experience wasn't bad. The suite I was renting from is the cheapest in the area. Not sure about it now. I remember looking into nearby locations for a private suite. It was difficult to find. There is no limit to how much people can charge you for a suite. I remember someone was charging $400 a week to share a double suite. I don't recommend you to get a suite if you're not confident about paying rent on time. Also, the contract said your lease can end in termination if you discuss your rent with others. They were charging everyone different amounts for security deposits and rent. Another thing I noticed many people don't talk about is the type of suites there are. Not all suites are made equal. The more modern it looks, the more expensive the rent is going to be. There are many suites out there where the wall is not connected to the ceiling, meaning there's a gap from your door to the ceiling. These are horrible because you hear everything and smell everything. One time I visited a suite like this. Most of the renters were acrylic nail techs. I asked the manager if it's normally this loud and the monomer smell was so strong if they leave the door open and whatnot. She said no, but it definitely was. I was about to move into it until I kept checking it out. Each time it was worse. On the busy days, you could hear everyone talking, the doors opening, closing. Their doors definitely stayed closed for security, so it was always reeking of monomer. On top of the hairstylist working and guests bringing in their baby, you would hear the baby crying, just everything. It was just too much. Luckily, I found my current spot. If you're working out of your home, please double check your finances because these suites can put you under. You want to find a real private suite that charges monthly. These days, it's rare to find that. For non-business owners, the only other option for us business owners is to rent a storefront ourselves or go half with someone. There really isn't any other professional options. Next time you see a home-based business, please consider getting a service by them. Just make sure they're legit since there are many scammers.